Welcome everybody to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mr. Craven. Alright guys, as promised, I am bringing you a new PvP Battleground build. This is called the Subjugator, and it lives up to its name. This is a really aggressive Battleground tank build. I'm really happy with it. You know, I came up with it. I'm excited to give you guys this build. It's really awesome, and it works out really good, especially in organized play. But even in scenarios where you can pug, this build's still going to perform well, especially for some of the advanced players out there looking to challenge themselves. So this is going to be a Nightblade tank. And basically what we're going to go ahead and do, I'm going to show you the character sheet here. Let me get the food buff up. That could help. Alrighty here. So let's get into this. Okay, we're currently sitting at 36,883 max health. Max magic is at 18,932. Max stamina is 24,093. Magic recovery is 958. Health recovery is at 1,183. Stamina recovery is at 673. Spell damage 1,132. Weapon damage 1,188. Spell crit 22. Weapon damage 22. You're not going to want crit or anything. This is a tank. Your resistance without anything on the base is 17,006 on each side. Okay, everything allocated is 2 magicka, 24 health, 38 stamina, and you're going to want to use the astronaut for magicka recovery because you're going to be using a lot of utilities. And on the back part, it's the same because we're running sword and board on both sides, so nothing has changed. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the sets first, and then we'll go down to it. Okay, so we're going to be running the Vanguard set with Tremor Scale, and of course, we're going to be running Tormentor. Now, I'm going to get into all this, but let me go down piece by piece here. Okay, so we have the Mace-infused Vanguard with Oblivion damage. I want to take advantage of this Oblivion damage. For anybody who's not aware what the Vanguard set does, it gives you 1,039 max health, another 1,039 max health, adds 4% healing taken. Now pay attention. When I taunt an enemy player, they deal 50% less damage to all other players, but 100% more damage to me for 15 seconds. This effect is lost if I enter sneak, invisibility, or move further than 28 meters. Keep this in mind. This is in the back of your head. I'm going to be running infused Vanguard shield. It has to be infused. The reason being, I'm going to run the prismatic enchantment on it, which gives me 520 max magicka, 572 max health, and 520 max stamina. Also, I'm going to run the sharpened sword. I was going to use the mace, but it kind of messes it up on the bar swap to know which bar I'm on sometimes when the ability bar kind of disappears. So the sword just gives me a good indication, but this is sharpened, glyphed with crushers, okay? Now, also, I'm going to be running Thermoscale. Now, guys, this is infused. It's also glyph prismatic. So shields, both shields infused, prismatic. Head, medium, infused, prismatic. Right? You're going to get more with the infused running the prismatic. Now, Tremor Scale is going to give me some max stamina. When I taunt an enemy, I have a 50% chance to cause a Dune Ripper to burst from the ground beneath them, dealing 7,771 physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters and reducing their movement speed by 70% for 4 seconds. This can occur every 4 seconds. Really nice. Doesn't deal a lot of damage, but the effect is really nice. It slows them down, and it's, to me, that's the blessing in disguise, and I'm going to get into why. Okay, so once again, infused Vanguard's Challenge Chest, prismatic. I'm going to be running the light Terminus scales, and this is divine. I'm actually wanting this in impen, but right now I have light divine. I need light impen. So that's not ideal, but it is glyphed with magicka. The enchantment is ideal. Okay, Vanguard's Challenge, impen, health, ideal. Tormentor. Now let's get into this. This is impen. This is ideal. What this is going to do for me, it's going to give me max health, an additional 4% healing taken, additional 4% healing taken. Now check this out. When I deal damage with the charge ability, I gain 3,515 physical and spell resistance, and then I taunt the enemy to attack me, right? So when I charge them, I'm taunting them. When I taunt them, I get a chance to activate Tremor Scale. Also, when I'm activating the taunt, I'm also activating the Vanguard's ability, right? So I'm getting all 3 sets from one ability, all 3 sets to have the chance to proc all of their effects. It's really great, guys. One ability ideal, the charge, that can affect all of this. It just goes ahead, chain reaction, boom, 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 boom. Everything falls into place. All right. So also I'm going to be using, that's Impen. Now I have the Gravers of the Torment Impen. Ideally I want this infused, but right now I have Impen, which will work for now because I also need the Sabatons of the Tormentor Impen, but right now I have it in Divine. So not ideal, but we're getting there. Also I'm going to be using the Keeper's Medallion, which is part of the Tormentor set. That has health recovery, gives me max stamina. I also have another Ringer of the Tormentor, healthy, with health recovery. And then I have Vanguard's Challenge Ring, health recovery, healthy. All right. So that's the sets that I'm going to be using. Now here's the skills, and this is how we're going to run it up. The primary bar, Shield Assault. This is my charge ability, right? I'm going to rush the enemy. I'm going to deal 3,844 physical damage. We can cut that in half, but it adds the CC to gives them the stun effect for 2 seconds. Also, I'm going to get a damage shield when I hit the charge. Now, that's important because it's going to give me a 5,003. Now, the shields are cut in half, so I can't really bank on it, but the nice aspect about this is I'm getting a CC, and this charge is going to potentially activate Tormentor. When it activates Tormentor regardless. So when Tormentor activates, then I go ahead and then I can activate the Thermoscale and the Vanguard, so on and so forth. Now, even though somebody might be out of my line of sight or something, I still want to use the debuff, and I still want to periodically hit the Tremor Scale and the other taunt. So I'm going to use Pierce Armor. The reason I want the Pierce Armor because it's going to give them a debuff. I'm going to apply the Major Fraction, the Major Breach, reducing their spell and physical damage. That increases my team's damage output on these targets. So it's very important. I'm going to be using Refreshing Path as a healing utility and also Major Expedition. In Battlegrounds, I got to keep on the move. I got to keep that Major Expedition, but it's also going to give me the passive in Shadow for Shadow Barrier, right? When I activate a Shadow ability, I'm going to increase my physical and spell resistance by 5,280. It's increased for every piece of heavy armor I have, which gives me 125 bonus. So that's where my resistance is going to come in. But that's not all, because what I want to use is the Spike Bone Shield. Nightblades are going to want to jump you. That's what they do. But don't worry. The Spike Bone Shield, what that does is it absorbs the damage equivalent to 35% of your max health and returns 40% of the damage back to the melee attackers. Now, this is why you don't really give it, you really want the Vanguard, because it's increasing 100% of the damage to you, right? When you throw the Spike Bone Shield, they get the damage boost to deal damage to you. The more damage they deal to you, the more it's redirecting it back at them from the Spike Bone Shield. So you actually want to increase the damage that they deal to you, thus increasing the damage they deal to themselves. So that's why you want it. Also, I'm going to be using Leeching Strikes. The reason being, it's going to go ahead and heal me 1,698 health for every hit, light attack or heavy. I'll use the heavy to weave up on the resources for stamina. When I use a heavy attack on a sword or a mace, I'm going to regain stamina. That's why I want the Atronach Mundus and not the Serpent, because I'm going to be able to recover, because even if I don't get to hit anybody, I'm going to restore 4,270 additional stamina when the effect ends. So the stamina recovery is there. Now also keep in mind that even though I'm going to be using Spike Bone Shield, I'm going to be taking a lot more damage, so I can go ahead and use the shield wall as my ultimate, reinforcing my shield and allow me to automatically block all attacks at no cost for 6 seconds. This comes in handy, especially when you're in the midst of heavy battle. It's cheap, you pop it, and you deflect the damage. On the back bar, we're going to use the shadow image. The shadow image is really nice because what it's going to do is apply the minor maim. I want to reduce further damage to myself, but this is going to apply to the targets, reducing it by 15%. But that's not all. If I keep it within a certain distance of me, and things start getting crazy, I can activate it and then teleport away from my targets. All of a sudden, that allows me to get out of the way if there's other people coming in on top of me. Because I'm a tank, they're going to want to do that. I go ahead and hit this, it applies the minor maim to my said target. I bash them. Next thing you know, things are getting heavy. I need an escape route. I can't move. Next thing you know, I'm just going to click this again and teleport backwards. Mass hysteria. Cannot stress enough the importance of CC here. Mass hysteria, when I'm charging in the middle of a large group, the first thing I want to do is separate them. Divide and conquer. So I'm going to hit my target. They're going to get stunned. I'm going to hit the mass hysteria and fear away their parties, especially in a Zerg. This is going to come in handy. Now, I'm also going to be using the resolving vigor. Now, I'm going to be using this as my heal. So along with Leeching Strikes and along with Resolving Vigor, what this allows me to do is capitalize on the healing receive. I'm an Argonian. So if you're wanting to know what race I am, I'm Argonian. The Argonian in its passive gets a whopping, I want to say 8%. 5%. So I get 5% to my healing, right? Just for my passives. Then on top of it with my sets. Now, keep in mind, we're not talking about Cyrodiil. We're talking about Battlegrounds. I'm getting 4, and I'm getting an additional 8. So that's 12, that's 17% healing received. So I want to capitalize on that vigor, right? It's going to increase the amount of healing I'm going to receive from this ability. And any other healing effects that are going to be applied by my teammates. Now, magic users are going to be a pain in your ass, right? So we got Spiked Bone Shield to go ahead and take care of the stamina, pretty much taking care of them. But magic users is a whole different beast. They're going to want to go ahead, and especially sorcerers, they're going to want to go ahead, hunt and curse you, wrath you, and then frag you. That's fine. We're going to use the absorb magic. It's going to bolster up my defense, absorbing up to 22,000 damage, and I'm going to heal 18% of my max health. Sounds good. But that's not all. Swallow Soul. This is a must-have. Why? Because also it's going to increase my healing received by an additional 10%. So I get 17, then on top of it I'm getting 10. That's 27% additional healing. And I keep it on this bar because I'm going to proc the Resolving Vigor. I want to keep it on these 2 bars to get that effect applied. Then I'm going to be using Soul Tither for another CC ability, a damage effect, and then on top of it, a synergy for my teammates. And there it is, guys. The ability that the set, it works so good. I couldn't believe it. I was kind of anticipating it was going to work out good, but it worked out actually real well. Number 1 and Battleground PvPer was in a group. I was in with 1 or 2 other ones. They had a formed party. They lost. I didn't get a lot of medals. That's the only bad thing about the tanks. You'll get Centurions, you'll get a couple of, assists, a couple. But your main ability, your main priority as a tank is disrupt and maintain. And this build does that. And it does it really well. Hits the debuffs up, holds the CCs, gets that nice amount of healing received. It does it so flipping well. And the way the combo set up is perfect. This is probably one of the best tanks. Now, you're going to ask, can you use this on other class tanks beside the Nightblade? Of course you can. Yes, you can. That's the best thing. You got it here first, guys. This is the tank build if you're going to want to play organized play, especially in Battlegrounds. This is, it's no-brainer. Tremor Scale. Charge, Tormentor, hits them, boom, procs Tremor Scale, procs Vanguard. You put up the friggin' Bone Shield. It's going to go ahead. They're going to increase their damage against you, but guess what? When they're hitting you, they're hitting themselves with the Spiked Bone Shield. You'll want to do it. When things get scary, pop the heal, get the Mass Hysteria out, focus in on one target, and just CC them left and right, guys. Works out great. Love this build. Love it. It's perfect. It's probably my favorite tank build in Battlegrounds at this moment. It is just that. It's it's nasty. It is gross. When I take one of the #1 players and teams out today with this build, and it does such a great job, I'm more than ecstatic about this build. And they would tell you this build was a pain in their ass today. Loved it. I was on very early, wanted to hit it out, did it, was awesome. Love it. So, also, champion points. Let's get into champion points just in case you want to roll this in Cyrodiil. If you want to roll it in Cyrodiil, it will have some application in Cyrodiil. I will kind of go over some of these champion points with you. Okay, guys, so I'm going to put Blessed up to 9.45. This is not ideal. This was just, it's going to go up. I'm getting a couple more points. I'm going to raise this up to about 10%, right, guys? Also, Master Arms is 22.25. Around 22 is where you want to be because you want direct damage, right? You just want to increase that capability. But most of your ability damage is going to be coming from penetration. We're lacking penetration values. We're getting 5,000. We're going to get another 2,006. I actually would tell you guys to take this down to about 18 and then reallocate this up to maybe about 3, 5, 4, get about 9, 10k. You're not dealing too much damage. You just want to get the most out of each of your abilities as much as possible. Mighty, you want to go ahead and keep it at even 14. Do not, you know, sack that at all. But you want the healing, you want to increase your healing capability with your vigor. That's why that's over there. And then you want to go ahead and direct damage and get your penetrating values. Okay, Ironclad is at 7.40. This isn't ideal. I'm going to readjust this up to 8%. My resistance is at 1,037 for Cyrodiil. That is ideal for me. I go ahead and I split the difference between the Hardy and the Elemental Defender at 10.15. Also have Bastion at 1850 for my shield. I'm going to be bringing this up to about 19% with my boost after Horns of the Reach goes up. And Quick Recovery, I'm actually going to readjust these values as well. But at least you know where points are getting placed at. Warlord is 904. That's ideal. Sprinter didn't have an extra point. I want this up to about 3%, but I'm going to readjust that. I'm going to also have Arcanist up. No, that's perfect. But Mooncalf, I want to get this up to about 13. So when Horns of the Reach, that's where my focus point is. And Healthy, I'm going to keep at 10.15 because I'm doing tanking. Also, I just reduced a little bit of block cost. I'm going to get this up to about 3%. And Tumbling at 1. Right now, I have points in Befau. I'm actually going to take these out and reallocate them because I had this going on with another build. So, because I was actually going ahead and using disease damage. But I'm going to take this out of the equation all the way together. And then I'm going to redirect into Siphoner because I want to do those light and heavy attacks and cause them to actually lose their regen. So it's going to be replanted from over here, from Befau, over into Siphoner. All right, so there's the champion points pretty much said and done. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I will try to get a couple of feeds in this weekend or next week with this build, doing some live Battlegrounds with it. I'm really happy with this build. Works out so good. It's gross, actually. It's really nasty, but it was awesome to come up with this build. I do want to thank everybody for watching, and once again, always, have a nice day.